गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Om Om. Now we do little Sugama. So in that Atmaikatva Vidya Pratipattaye Sarve Vedantaha Arabhyante, this last sentence of Adhyasa Bhashya, we have been discussing various aspects about the various implications about that one sentence, Atmaikatva Vidya Pratipattaye. So the last point was Athato Brahma Jignasa. This point I just say and continue. Athato Brahma Jignasa, this sutra teaches us to seek, to search for the Atma. When the Brahma Sutras is teaching, Upanishad is teaching the Jignasa of Brahman, Purvapakshi told that the Jignasu, the seeker of knowledge, and what is sought after have got to be different. So, but you say that Atma is Brahman. If Atma is Brahman, Upanishad would not teach a seeking of it. You seek what is not you, what is away from you, what is other than you. Nobody seeks about oneself. One seeks what one is not. Okay. One seeks what one is not. Nobody seeks oneself because oneself is already present, already obtained, already present, already evident. This was the question. To this the answer was given. See, one is known, one is self-evident, but that self-evident Atma is misunderstood as limited, not complete, not absolute. So the absoluteness of the Atman is taught here. Absolute as the Atman is sought after, sought to know. Sought means sought to know. So Upanishad, Vedanta or Brahma Sutras teach an inquiry into oneself to discover whether am I the limited being, or am I really the absolute already existing? What is my real nature? Because at the moment I take myself to be a limited being, a seeking and searching being, a seeking person. So Upanishad says, no, there is something wrong, because what you are seeking is absolute. Absolute cannot be away from you. It cannot exclude you. It cannot be outside you. Then if I am myself, then why don't I find? If this is the point, then you have if I am the same absolute, then why do I find that I am not absolute? Yeah. This we can say, then therefore, if this is the situation, then searching, then Jignasa has a place. Okay? Searching into yourself, inquiring into yourself has a meaning, has a place. You can inquire and come to discover what is your real nature. In these things, what you are not, you are including. You are including what you are not, something other than you. Because of that, your real you looked smaller. A real me looked smaller because I included not me into it. So due to Adhyasa, due to a misunderstanding, a wrong assumption, that means I am looking from this wrong assumption, I have been feeling that I am not the absolute. Now by inquiring, you come to discover that you are already absolute. What you thought of, that you are not absolute, you are not Brahma, was a misunderstanding, was a misconception. Therefore, the misconception is understood as a misconception. What is not you is understood as not you. Then what you are already remains. Okay, now the next question comes. Evam, if this is the case, Brahmana eva tarhi yam avidya ityapannam, you told Atma is Brahman. Okay? Atma is, oneself is the absolute. and you are inquiring into yourself. That means, if I am Brahman, now I don't know, now I have an experience that I don't know I am Brahman. So this I don't know myself as a Brahman belongs to Brahman only. Okay. So this avidya belongs to Brahman only. You say I am Brahman, but it is me alone suffering from that ignorance of not knowing myself as absolute. Not knowing myself as absolute belongs to me. That means Brahman alone is ignorant. Ultimately, it comes to mean this. Purvapakshi asking a question. If then this comes to mean, it comes to mean this. Brahmanaha eva tarhi yama vidya ityapannam. It comes to mean, which is an undesirable thing. It is an undesirable thing. It comes to mean that avidya belongs to me. Nahi anyad brahmanaha sakashad asti, because there is nothing other than you. If Brahman was different, then you could say that Jiva is, the seeker is ignorant and the Brahman is the truth to be found out. If the truth is other than me, other than the seeker, if the truth were other than the seeker, you could say the seeker is ignorant and the truth is away from him and he could discover it. But now you say truth is myself. I am the Brahman. If I am Brahman, then I don't know the Brahman. So this not knowing Brahman belongs to Brahman only. This is what This is what ultimately comes to. Your Siddhanta, your Prakriya, your presentation of the truth, your philosophy comes to mean this. This is undesirable. Because Brahman is ignorant. In fact, some of the Dvaitins, Dvaitins to object like this, Dvaitins, Vishishtadvaitins, everybody, all non-Advaitins talk like this alone. They, in fact, they make fun of Advaitin. They say, oh, Brahma being a consciousness. See, it seems he has got a Maya and he falls into his own Maya. They interpret like that. They mock at Vedantins like that. Oh, he has got a Maya, means that is a Mula Vidya Prakriya. So they mock at Mula Vidya Prakriya like this. So you say Brahman has a Maya and he forgets himself and falls into Maya. And after some time he understands and he comes out of Maya. Then if Brahman is a Brahman, why should he forget himself and fall into Maya? Ayya Rama, what kind of Brahman he is? So Brahman can't maintain his own awareness of his Brahmanness. Brahman can't maintain all the time. He will lose his Brahmanness. He will forget. Afterwards he may recover. That's a later. But why did he fall like this? Ayya Rama. So this Vedanta is only such a meaningless Vedanta. It looks so, how to say, ridiculous. Not meaningless, it looks ridiculous. That Brahma forgets himself, falls into the Maya. Where is that? It is his own Maya. I mean, according to Mula Vidya Prakriyam, they call Maya is a Vidya. Okay, we are just referring to them. So they say Maya is Brahman's, within the control of Brahman, but the Maya is under the control of Brahman, but Brahma forgets himself and falls into his own Maya. The Maya which is under his control, he falls into that Maya. He suffers for some janmas together, for years and janmas, again and again, for years and centuries, and we don't know how many years. Then later he finds a guru and discovers, he understands that, oh, I am not Jiva, I am not Samsari. My God. Because there is nobody else. You say Brahman alone is Jiva, Jiva alone is Brahman. Then whom does? For us, this problem won't arise. We say Jiva is separate, Brahman is separate. Therefore, Brahman is always Jnana Swarupam. Jiva is ignorant, we can accept. Jiva is ignorant. Therefore, Ajnana belongs to Jiva. But according to you Advaitins, if I am Brahman, if Jiva himself is Brahman, then Ajnana is supposed to belong to Jiva. Now you say Jiva is Brahman, then Ajnana belongs to Brahman. What an anartha. Anartha means an undesirable situation you land yourself into. This is the Purvapakshi. Okay? This was the objection. Reply. Vedantin's reply. Swamiji's reply, you see, Bhrantosi. You have misunderstood that I am Brahman, this Atma is Brahman. This point you have misunderstood. How misunderstanding? I shall point out. You will see how you have created your own contradiction. You have created that wrongness. I didn't mean it. You have taken a wrong implication, and in that wrong implication you find this difficulty, this contradiction. I did not mean it. Vedanta doesn't mean this implication. You misunderstood. In your misunderstanding, this contradiction, this wrong question arises. This wrong implication arises. You took it wrongly. Bhranto, see, you have misunderstood it. You are confused. Why? Brahmana Saka. When we told Brahman is everything, when we told Atma is Brahman, okay, Brahmana Sakashed Anyan Nasti. See, Purvapakshi told, objector. The objector told Brahman is not different from Atma. That means Atma is Brahman. Therefore, there is nothing other than Brahman. That means there is no Jiva apart from Brahman. See, avidya belongs to Jiva. It is the Jiva who is ignorant. If there is nothing other than Brahman, then Jiva is also Brahman. Then in that case, the Jiva's ignorance belongs to Brahman only. This was the implication he arrived at. Now Siddhanti answers, you say, you have accepted my stand that I am Brahman. If everything is Brahman, Brahmana Sakached Anyan Nasti Kinchit. If there is nothing other than Brahman, everything is Brahman alone. Katam Hyavidya Vidyava Kasyachit Bhavet. If everything is Brahman alone, where is the question of avidya and where is the question of avidya belonging to somebody? See the answer. If you say, if you have accepted my stand that everything is Brahman, then where is the question of avidya and belonging to whom? See, you say if Atma is Brahman, Jiva is Brahman, then avidya, if Jiva were separate, avidya belonged to Jiva. Now you say Jiva is Brahman alone, then there is only one Brahman and there is no separate Jiva at all. There is no Jiva at all, there is only one Brahman. Then this avidya belongs to Brahman only. This is what you concluded. Vedantin says that is your misunderstanding. If everything is Brahman alone, there is no Jiva at all, then where is the question of avidya for whom? Where is avidya and for whom? There is neither avidya nor it belongs to somebody. There is no question of avidya, no question of avidya belonging to somebody. Because when everything is Brahman, then nothing. No avidya, nobody. No avidya, no jiva, no samsara. See how you accept Brahmatvam and again you take jiva's conclusion. You take something else. When you say everything is Brahman, then there is no problem. Then all problems are automatically solved. If you say there is only one Brahman, Advaita Brahman, and he says, see Purvapakshi's objection, if there is only one Brahman and no Jiva, then avidya belongs to Brahman. How? If there is only Brahman, then no avidya at all. Neither avidya nor its belonging. Therefore, Bhrantosi, Brahmana Sakashat Chet Anyan Nasti, Katam hi avidya vidyava kasyachit bhavet. How can either ignorance or knowledge belong to somebody? If everything is Brahman alone, then there is only Brahman, that's all. There is only Brahman. Kasmins Chita Vishay. Now, I clarify the point which you have missed it. An ignorance always belongs to somebody about something else. Okay? This is the situation. In what situation an ignorance obtains? An ignorance can exist in what situation? To a limited being, to a small being, about something other than himself. An ignorance is possible. An ignorance pertains to somebody about something else. Kasminchit vishayehi kasyachit anyasya pratipattur avidya. This is the situation where avidya is possible. When everything is Brahman, then there is no avidya. Avidya has no room and no samsara and nothing, no problem at all. The question of avidya arises only to a person about something else. When I don't know something else, and I am limited, I am ignorant about it, then ignorance belongs to me about something else. Okay. Brahmana अन्यत्वेन अविद्याभ्युपगमात् तर्हि द्वैतप्रसङ्गः again Purvapakshi asks regarding avidya, one more question. Avidya abhyupagamat, see, if you have accepted avidya, then Dvaita comes into being. If you accept avidya, Brahmana anyatvena avidyapyupagamat. See, when you are accepting avidya, if there is only Brahman, then there is no problem. But you are telling there is avidya. You have to know Brahman. Once avidya is accepted, then what happens? Brahma and avidya, there are two things. If Brahman is non-dual, see, if Brahman is non-dual, there is no avidya at all. Then if you accept avidya, then Brahman and avidya, two things are there. Brahman and avidya, since you are accepting Brahman is there and there is avidya, then there is Advaita. So Brahmana anyatvena avidya abhyupagamat. Since you are accepting avidya, then what happens? Tarhi dvaitavada prasangaha. Prasanga means there is a undesirable situation, that there is avidya is one and Brahman is another. So two things. Nahi anabhyupagame avidya prahanaya vedant, because if you have not accepted avidya, then Vedanta vichara can't take place. If there is no avidya for me, no vichara, no Vedanta, no vichara, no seeking knowledge of Brahman. Then if you accept avidya, then Brahman and avidya, there will be two things. Dvaita comes. If you accept avidya, Dvaita comes into being. If you don't accept, no vichara, no Vedanta. Vichara have no place. Who will do vichara and for what? Because without it is to remove the ignorance. It is to correct the ignorance we do Vedanta vichara. Then Vedanta vichara has no place. How will you do? If I am Brahman, then avidya belongs to me. If you say there is no avidya, then no vichara. Two things. I am Brahman, you told. If I am Brahman, then whom does avidya belong to? Avidya belongs to Brahman. No, avidya doesn't belong to Brahman. Then avidya doesn't belong, then there is only one Brahma and no avidya. If avidya doesn't belong to anybody, there is no avidya at all, then no vichara. No tattva vichara, no seeking, no Vedanta. If you accept avidya, then what happens? Then there is either you say avidya belongs to Brahman only. That you are not ready to admit. Then if avidya doesn't belong to Brahman, it belongs to somebody, then it becomes Advaitam. Okay. If avidya, if there is no avidya, no vichara is possible. If you admit avidya, two things. Either you admit avidya or not. Swamiji is telling different, I combine all of them and to put them in one place. It becomes easy to remember and understand. Is there avidya or not? If there is no avidya, no seeking, no vichara, nothing is possible. If there is avidya, that avidya belongs to Brahman only. Okay. Then this says that no, avidya doesn't belong to Brahman. If avidya doesn't belong to Brahman, then avidyavan is a separate. Jiva is separate. If avidya doesn't belong to Brahman, then one who is avidyavan, one who is ignorant will be, an ignorant being is separate. An ignorant person is separate, then there will be Advaitam. If ignorance doesn't belong to Brahman, then ignorant person is separate. When ignorant person is separate and Brahman is separate, then Dvaitam comes. Then you can't say I am Brahman. That's meaningless. If I am Brahman, then avidya belongs to Brahman only. No, if I am Brahman, there is no avidya. If there is no avidya, no vichara. Now tell me how you are caught up. How you are caught up in these things. Your presentation of Vedanta, your own philosophy is landing you, is taking you into this contradiction. If there is no avidya, vichara is not possible. No self-inquiry is possible. I am just repeating for intelligent people. I have already understood, because we have got all kinds of students, those who are little mandamadhyam adhikari, for sake of them I need to repeat. Other people can be relaxed because you already understood. So if avidya is not there, vichara is not possible. No seeking, no searching. If avidya is there, to whom? If I am Brahman, then avidya belongs to Brahman only. No, avidya doesn't belong to Brahman. Avidya belongs to somebody else. If somebody else means that somebody else is separate and Brahman separate, then Dvaita comes. But you say I am Brahman. And Vedanta Vichara is only to discover that I am Brahman. Atmaikatva Vidya Pratipattaya, you are telling. If avidyavan is separate, if ignorant person is a separate being, then Atmaikatva Vidya you can't say. Jiva is separate. Jiva will learn Brahman and he will remove ignorance, but Jiva will remain separate, Brahman will remain separate. Jiva will get rid of ignorance by searching. Jiva will inquire into Brahman, discover Brahman, he will get rid of his ignorance, but Brahman will remain separate. But if you say, I am Brahman, if Jiva is Brahman, then me and Brahma are not separate. Jiva and Brahma are not separate. Then avidya belongs to Brahman only. If avidya belongs to Brahman, how can you get rid of? Because what belongs to Brahman remains always there, because there are no two Brahmas. There is only one Brahma. Then if one Brahma, then avidya always belongs to Brahman, and Brahman will remain all the time ignorant person. So your prakriya, your philosophy is reaching this point. So to this he replies, Brahmana anyatvena avidya vyupagamat. Brahmana anyasya. तर्हि द्वैतवाद प्रसंगः ब्रह्मणः अन्यस्य जीवस्य. Swamiji told briefly. I think we have to add a few more words here. The sentence is incomplete. I don't know how people understand it. The word is missing. I think Brahmana Anyasya word, these two words have to be added. That's why I have noted down in the book. Brahmana, in the translation I make it, but in the text I can't interfere. So Brahmana Anyasya avidya vyupagamat. Otherwise sentence is incomplete, doesn't make sense. So if avidya belongs to Brahman, then he cannot get rid of. If Brahman is only one, avidya belongs to him, he can't get rid of. Or as you said, if Brahman is only one, there is no avidya at all. Then for whom? Who is to get rid of, and what is vichara? Where is vichara? Where is searching? Nothing is there. That means no jiva at all. This is the land problem. Nahi anabhyupagamaya vidya prahanaya vedanta arambaha yujyate. If you don't admit avidya at all, how can you do vichara? If there is only Brahman and no avidya at all, then no vichara. Who will do vichara for what? This is the situation. To this, Swamiji replies, na abhyupagata dvaita satyatvasya vidyavatva avashtambat. See, we are not generalizing that there is avidya. See, this question of avidya is like a disease. Disease, once you say, who is sick, you have to ask. You can't say sickness or a disease is a generalized person to all beings. Okay? Just as avidya is to the jiva. Similarly, is a condition. It is a tentative condition. Disease, sickness is a tentative condition. Disease is a tentative condition. It is not a universal fact. Okay. Therefore, abhyupagata dvaita satyasya. One who thinks that I am not Brahman, I am somebody, I am not Brahman. One who thinks, see, I am not Brahman, I am limited. I am seeking perfection. I am seeking completeness. I am limited, I am suffering jiva. I am limited, I am suffering, I am wanting person. I need something to acquire something, to gain something, because I am limited and small. So one who thinks that I am limited and small, the perfection, the completeness is called Brahman. The perfection or completeness is not with me and I am seeking it. It is somewhere away from me. One who thinks this, one who is in this perception that I am limited and what I want is something away from me. The perfection or completion is away from me and I am limited. One who is in this thinking, in this notion, to that person we are talking. So we talk of avidya as not a universal fact. Avidya is not. Now you are putting a question, whom does avidya belong? See, avidya whom does belong, it is a situational question. Situational question, therefore a situational answer. It is not a general fact. Okay? It is like a time. Somebody asks us, tell me what is time? What time is it? What time is it? Then he is asking, somebody asks us, what time is it? And the other person says, which country you are asking? Indian time or England's time or American time? Which time you are asking? He says, no, not about any place. I am asking in general. In general, how can you tell any time? Is there any general time? Tell me. You have to talk of a time only belonging to a place, a particular place, particular point of time, point of place. In a particular point alone, you can talk of time. Can you talk of time in general? Somebody asked, how far is Delhi? It really happened. We were traveling. Every few days we move away from to another town, another place. Every few days. So somebody asked, how far is Delhi? Another fellow told, from which place? From where you are asking? This place we have left it and we are left and we are going to station. We are going to another place. No, from which place you are asking? From which place is Delhi? How far is Delhi means from which place you are asking? The other one asked. He told, no, not from any particular place. Tell me in general how far is Delhi. How can you say how far is Delhi? Unless you specify the place, the town, I cannot say how far is Delhi from this place. Without a location, taking a location, you can't measure the distance. Similarly, you can't tell the time. Somebody asked, what time is it? Another person asked, whose time you are asking? You are in a plane, aeroplane. You are traveling by a plane and somebody asked, what time is it? I said, which time? The place which we have left, we were in one city. We have landed. Our flight took off in a one city, from one city. So now we are in the air. Now we are going to reach another country. Of what country's time you are asking? Tell me, which country's time you are asking? Which place's time? He says, no, in general. In general, you can't have a time. You specify the city or a country, then I can tell you the time. Otherwise, you can't say. Similarly, avidya is not a generalized fact. Avidya is in a conditional fact. This is what we have to understand. Avidya is in a condition. What condition? That I am a limited being. I am seeking happiness. I want to be complete. I want to be free. One who thinks, one who entertains this notion, one who thinks that I am limited, I am seeking something, I want to become free. That notion. A person who thinks that I am limited, I want to become free, in that condition alone there is avidya. Okay? In that condition alone there is avidya. How beautifully Swamiji presents, see. See, Abhyupagata Dvaita Satyatvasya. But the language is Sanskrit. You have to interpret into our modern language. It is in Sanskrit expression. That Sanskrit expression you have to get used to it. Otherwise, he is explaining clearly, but the expression is in Sanskrit. So, Abhyupagata Dvaita Satyatvasya. Abhyupagata Dvaita Satyatvasya avidyavattvavashtambhat. Otherwise, you may learn simple Sanskrit, but the Sanskrit expression, Vedantic expression, it is a Vedantic idiom. That's what we mean prakriya. Vedantic idiom means prakriya. Knowing simple Sanskrit language is not enough. You need to know the Vedantic language. Vedantic language means prakriya. Okay. So, Abhyupagata Dvaita Satyatvasya. One who thinks I am limited. So, there is a thought, there is a notion, there is an assumption in you that I am a limited being and I am seeking something. In this condition, you can talk of avidya. To whom does avidya belong? To that. To that person who thinks that I am a limited being and I am seeking some perfection. I am seeking absoluteness. This thought, whoever entertains, wherever this thought, in that thought alone there is avidya. We can talk of avidya only to this perception, this conditional state. This conditional state alone is avidya. This state, there is a notion, there is a thought that I am limited being, to that. If you move away from that thought, I am limited being, if that thought is corrected, if that assumption you leave, there is no avidya. That means there is no jivatvam. Neither there is jiva nor there is avidya. If you come out of that condition that I am limited and I don't know, I am not absolute. I am limited and I am not absolute. This notion one who is entertaining, to that person alone we can talk of avidya. And if you move away from that assumption that I am limited, if that thought you get rid of, then you are Brahman. To that Brahman there is no avidya. Okay. There is no avidya and there is no samsara, that's all. So avidya samsara is a conditional, it's a conditional talk. Abhyupagata dvaita satyatvasya avidyavattvavashtambhat. See, the sentence is beautiful, it's a one long samasa. See, Abhyupagata dvaita satyatvasya avidyavattvavashtambhat. See, avidya is talked about, avidya is talked of pertaining to somebody. Avashtambhat. Avidya is talked of pertaining to somebody who thinks that I am limited and not absolute. I am limited and not the absolute, not Brahman. In that conditional state, that avidya belongs to that conditional state. It is not a given person, because the personhood is also in that the jivahood is also in that conditional state. Jivahood is also in that conditional state who thinks that I am limited. There is no permanent jiva. There is no absolute jiva. Jivahood is a conditional state. There is no absolute jiva, remember. There is no jiva as a permanently absolute entity and separate from Brahmatvam. Brahmatvam is an absolute fact. Jivatvam is not an absolute entity, a permanent entity. It's a conditional, tentative condition. Okay? To that condition alone we talk of. Therefore, you can come out of the condition. You become absolute. As an absolute, you are Brahman. Jivatvam, jiva bhava is a conditional state. Okay? This alone makes sense. And this they don't understand. Everything you categorize as absolute factors. And that's why all these Dvaitins don't understand. Then tell me, jiva, avidya, whom does it belong to? Whom? There is no permanent fixed person permanently as a jiva. Does it belong to jiva or Brahman? They put question like that. No, it can't belong to Brahman. Then it belongs to jiva. No, jiva is also not a permanent fixed entity. Absolute fact. Appa, just wait, let his noise. Okay. So, jiva is not an entity, a permanent absolute entity. Okay? It is a tentative state. In that state alone we talk of it. You move away from the state, there is no jiva, there is no avidya. So it's a tentative conditional state. Therefore, abhyupagata satyatvasyaiva avidyavatva avashtambhyat nahi vayam avidyam vesanitaya rochayamahe. This is an idiomatic expression. I think it's very difficult to translate. I already translated, so it is gone for print. It is gone for this thing. That's Sugama. So anyway, I don't know, I don't remember how I translated. Vayam avidyam vesanitaya rochayamahe. We are not presenting avidya for sake of it as an absolute fact. It is very difficult to translate. Avidyam vesanitaya rochayamahe. How to translate? Vyasanitaya means as a, yeah, I think you can only interpret it. You can't translate literally because it's very idiom. You cannot translate it. I can only interpret it. We are not presenting avidya as an absolute fact. Avidya for sake of avidya, we are not proving, we are not trying to establish. Only to a given conditional state we are talking of avidya. Avidya pertains to a conditional state. I think I gave you an example of the time and a place. How far is Delhi when you ask? See, the distance pertains to a particular point. If you are stationed in a particular city, then I can talk of distance. You say, no, I am not talking of any particular city. In general, tell me how far is Delhi. It doesn't make any sense. In general, tell me how far is Delhi. No, you specify the town, then I can tell you how far it is. Similarly, you specification in a specific condition alone, you can talk of avidya. In general, you can't talk. This is what Swamiji means by this sentence. Nahi vayam avidyam vyasanitaya rochayamahe. Vyasanitaya. Vyasana means a kind of a addiction, a kind of a habit. No, not a habit. No, not even addiction. Just for sake of avidya. Avidya as an avidya. Avidya as an absolute fact we are not trying to present. Avidya as a something existing fact and we are talking about it. Avidya itself is not an existing fact. Avidya itself is not an entity, is not an existing fact we can talk about. It is a conditional state, that's all. And as long as you are in that conditional state, to that so what we talk about relates to that conditional state. You move out of it, then our talking becomes irrelevant. Supposing I say it is 2000 kilometers, Delhi is 2000 kilometers, and that fellow is listening. Somebody asked how far is Delhi. I told, 2000 kilometers. Somebody says, how can it be 2000 kilometers? Somebody is in Jhansi. Jhansi means a city close to Delhi, or Mathura. Somebody is in Mathura. I say, how can you say 2000 kilometers? So clear, so close it is. It is just a few kilometers. Maybe 100, even less than 100. Around 100 kilometers, how can you say 2000 kilometers? Then he says, where are you talking from? From Mathura. Then Mathura is different. Then tell me what is exact distance. There is no such thing called a distance at all. Distance is a myth. Tell me, distance is a myth. Distance is you take a point and then you measure. If you don't take a point, no distance. Distance is a meaningless idea. Distance has no idea at all. Distance comes into question. Distance comes into place only when you take a point. Similarly, you take a situation, within that situation you can talk of avidya. Avidya is a conditional, situational expression. You move out of the condition, no avidya, avidya belongs to nobody. Therefore, don't make avidya as an absolute fact like Mula Vidyavadins made it. Brahma Ashrita Avidya, they made avidya as an absolute factor. They don't mean it, we are only disputing their prakriya. They also don't mean it. See, they don't mean it, but their prakriya gives such an impression to the listener. To the listener gets an idea that there is an avidya absolutely sitting with Brahman. That's how the student gets an impression, because you are presenting in such a way. Your presentation is prakriya. Your prakriya is giving an impression to the listener, and we are only trying to correct the prakriya. What the real fact is, we don't know. Your presentation alone, we argue. Your presentation, that means your prakriya, gives an impression to the listener, a particular impression, as if Maya is Maya, Brahma Shrita Maya. In Tattva Bodha, they say Brahma, avidya sticks to Brahman, they say. Then just as Brahman is there, why? It is there, anirvachaniya. We cannot explain why and all. That it is there is the only one point. Avidya sticks to Brahman. That is avidya or Maya, they call it synonymous. So avidya or Maya, according to them, is with Brahman. Why? Question cannot be answered. Because it is anirvachaniya. Why we can't say? Why it is not there we can't say. Why it is there we can't say. That it is there is the only fact. Now they present avidya as something sticking to Brahman. Why we say? Then see, you see, it is something like telling what is the distance. It is like telling a distance of Delhi without telling any city. Without taking any city or any particular location. It is like without taking a particular location, telling the distance to Delhi, the prakriya amounts, they may not mean it. You say, I am not abusing our acharyas, our vyakhyanakaras, they are all great people, their vairagyam, their tyaga, they are all great, we are not disputing. Thing is, what they present, their prakriya is giving such an impression to the listener. What he is, he may be Brahmagyani, we don't know, he may be, may not be. But his statement is giving such an impression to the listener, therefore we are disputing that prakriya, that way of talking, that way of presentation. That way of presentation is giving a wrong impression, and that wrong impression needs to be corrected. Okay. Therefore, without taking a particular city, a particular location, telling a distance in general creates a problem. You say Maya or avidya sticks to Brahman. Why should it stick to Brahman? Why should it stick to Brahman? Is it not making a absolute distance? Is there an absolute distance? Is there an absolute distance? Distance is for a particular location. That keeps changing. If you keep on changing the towns, your distance also changes. You were in Holy Narasimhapura. As you go to Bangalore, then your distance to Delhi changes. From Delhi, you move towards the north, again distance changes. Again move, again distance changes. Now what? Then they say, you keep on telling he asked him, what is the distance? Now it is only this many kilometers. Now it is 2000 kilometers. Now it says 1900 kilometers. Again he says 1800 kilometers. The other person asked, hey, you keep on changing your words. Tell me one word, one distance. You keep on changing the distance. Your answer is keep on changing. Tell me one permanent answer. Then they say, I'll tell you, this is the distance. Can you tell a permanent distance? Similarly, avidya, what called Maya sticking to Brahman. Therefore, the prakriya is creating a problem. You can't say Maya sticks to Brahman. Then it becomes an absolute factor. Okay, I think you have understood. This is a simple thing. Mistake is a simple mistake. Mistake is a very costly mistake. But if you understand, it's a simple thing. But the mistake is a costly. The prakriya, wrong prakriya, is a very costly prakriya. How years together we have suffered by learning Mula Vidya. And it took long time, only it's Swamiji's blessing. We come out of this wrong thinking. Because the presentation gave it. So, Vyasanitaya, see, Abhyupagata Dvaita Satyatvasya Purushasya Avidya Sambandam Brumahe. His language is so simple, Swamiji's simple language and straight answer. See, Dvaita, Abhyupagata Dvaita Satyatvasya to Purushasya Avidya Sambandam Brumahe. Who takes that I am Jiva, who takes that I am limited, to that notion, to that idea, to that thought position that I am limited, I am somebody, I am limited. To this thought position, we talk of avidya. To this assumed position, we talk of thought position. We talk of avidya. And you move away from the position, our answer doesn't apply. There is no avidya. Avidya to nobody. If you move away from that position, from that thought, nobody. Avidya belongs to nobody. Okay. Purushasya avidya sambandam brumahe. tatahi nacha rochayamahe. Tatahi, therefore, we don't mean avidya as an absolute factor. So these Mula Vidya Vadins present that Maya is sticking to Brahman because it is anirvachaniya. You cannot explain why and what, etc. Don't question. Accept that Maya is sticking to Brahman. This kind of generalizing it, making it as an absolute factor, it makes the prakriya is a very, very wrong and very misleading, and the listener is caught, is in trap. It just cannot come out of it. It becomes very difficult. Therefore, the whole prakriya is really dangerous. Dangerous means it is really, I don't know how to say that. It makes him helpless to come out of it. Okay, so anyway, you can understand it easily. Tathahi narochayamahe dvaitabhyupagame ko avidyam nivarayet vedantarambhasya. Dvaitabhyupagame ko avidyam nivarayata. Then once you say, I am limited, in that thought position, in that assumption you are, to the person who is in that assumption, who is in that notion, then who can say that there is no avidya? Where is the question? Now, how can you say that where is avidya and all that? He is the avidyavan. A person who says that I am limited being, to him is the avidya, because he himself is telling I am limited and I am not absolute. That means he doesn't know his absoluteness. He doesn't know his absoluteness. So to that person who is in that assumption, who is in that notion, to him the avidya belongs. Now it is very clear, evident that it is very clearly evident to that person who is in that thought position. Now the question, you need not put question, because it is very clear. That's what, to him is the avidya. To him avidya belongs, who is in that notion. Okay, nivarayet, who can deny that to him avidya belongs? Who can deny that avidya belongs to him who is in that notion, in that thought position? Dvaitabhyupagame, because I am limited, I am not Brahman, I am not absolute. One who entertains to that notion, to that person we say it is avidya. So person, you see, naturally he thinks that I am limited and I am not Brahman. To that person we teach that there is avidya. Avidya is adhyaropa. We are doing adhyaropa of avidya to that person who thinks that I am limited. So he has got an instinctive adhyasa. Okay, instinctively he feels that I am limited and then I am not Brahman. To that person we do adhyaropa. The first teaching adhyaropa is there is avidya for you. There is avidya in you. That's why you think you are not Brahman and you are Jiva. So that's where the first adhyaropa starts. Okay, so dvaitabhyupagame ko avidyam nivarayet. So that is the vidya, because your mind, your notion, your experience that I am limited itself shows that you are ignorant, because you don't know you are limited, and when you say you are limited, then you don't know Brahman, you don't know the absolute, and your mind is seeking the absolute. Now that is avidya state, and that is avidya, because that is instinctive. Okay, advaite cha, when you seek Brahman and come to discover that you are Brahman and not the limited being, that limited being is assumption. I am limited is an assumption. If you correct the assumption, if you correct the notion and discover your absoluteness, then avidya belongs to nobody. Advaite cha kastasya prasangaha. Once you discover, you can discover yourself as absolute by correcting this assumption, this notion about you that I am limited. When this notion is corrected by discovering that you are absolute, this notion gets corrected, then avidya belongs to nobody. See, you are in a particular town in Holy Narspura. How far is Delhi, I can tell you. You move away from Holy Narspura, then my answer doesn't apply to you. The distance doesn't apply to you. Similarly, there is avidya. This is the first adhyaropa we have made. And we made this adhyaropa only when you think that I am a limited being. And if you move away from that I am limited being notion, then we can't do avidya adhyaropa. Because there is no avidya adhyaropa, there is no vichara. I can't do avidya adhyaropa, and then I can't advise you to do vichara. Because you have moved away from that position that I am limited being. I am limited being, you move away from it. Then you understood your Brahman. There is no vichara, no avidya. Okay. Therefore, what we say that there is avidya is only an adhyaropa, is a tentative adhyaropa. We are not teaching it as an absolute fact. The problem is when they take everything as an absolute factors, as real factors, that everything, there is avidya, there is jiva, and there is searching, and there is Brahma, there is moksha. All these things are not absolute factors. They are tentatively relevant to only certain condition. And you move away from the condition, all my answers, all my teaching, all my prakriya becomes irrelevant, because once you discover your Brahman, you are moved away from that notion. All my teaching of moksha and moksha, vidya, jiva, vichara, shastra, guru, shishya, everything becomes irrelevant. They all just disappear. They have no meaning. Therefore, the teaching is only a tentative and only adhyaropita. And once you move away from it, and all adhyaropas disappear. Okay, so avidya is not a absolute factor. It is a tentative explanation to a particular angle of looking. You are in a particular angle. In your particular angle of looking, to that angle of looking, this adhyaropa of avidya is done. It relates to that angle of looking. You move away from the angle, my answer also doesn't apply to you. That avidya belongs to jiva. Jiva is ignorant. Even this answer is a tentative answer to that conditional answer. You move away from the condition, my answer is not relevant to you, and you don't need also. Neither you need my answer, nor it makes any sense to you. So this is adhyaropa pavada. Okay. Advaite chakastasya prasangaha. Okay. Etena yadi nakasyachit avidya jignasanaramba evaiti chodyam. Then you say, if there is no avidya belongs to nobody, if avidya is not an absolute factor, it belongs to nobody, then where is the question of vichara and jignasa? True. If avidya belongs to nobody means in brahmatvam. In advitiyatvam, in your nature as Brahman, there is no avidya. Then there is no vichara also. You don't need vichara. In your nature as a Brahman, there is no avidya and there is no vichara. No need for vichara, because in brahmatvam doesn't need it. Therefore, nahi vayam vidyodaye satyapi jignasa bhavaniti. Once you discover yourself as absolute, then there is no jivatvam, there is no avidya, and no need of vichara. All that become irrelevant. Therefore, jignasa bhavini iti brumahe yena ittam upalambasya. Therefore, your question doesn't apply. Your question is wrongly placed. If you understand this explanation, you can understand this thing. Okay. Next question about avidya. Next paragraph is there. Kim kruteyam avidya. Okay. Then why this avidya? Next question. Next paragraph. I think once we answer Atmaikatva Vidya Kim Rupini, then only we talk of Advitiya Atma. That Advaita Jnanam, what is the state of Advaita Jnanam, we have to talk of it. Now regarding Avidya, there is one more question. We'll talk next tomorrow. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat.